So what would you do if you were elected to Tempe City Council? What would you do to change that?
There's a few immediate programs that I would want to start off. First of all, it's important to recognize that 60% of Tempe is renters, and renters need protections as well, both so that they can save money to eventually buy a home and because they just deserve to have protections and stability in their life.
Welcome to Around the District podcast, where we bring important conversations to our community. My name is Nicole Brown.
My name is Gabrielle Mazar.
And this space is all about learning, listening, and understanding the issues that impact our neighborhoods and our future. Today, we are joined by Bobby Nichols, as he's a city council candidate in Tempe, who also brings the perspective of an attorney. This combination offers a unique lens on leadership, public policy, and community responsibility. And we're going to talk about your journey, the issues facing our city, yours and mine, because we're Tempe, and your vision for the future.
Okay.
So welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's been delayed too long, and now we're finally here. So Thank you for your patience, and I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Bobby Nichols. I've been running for Tempe City Council since July of 2025. One of the later candidates to get into the race, but I think I've had a really good opportunity and a really good experience. My campaign is based on movement building. I have a lot of experience working around progressive Democrats, democratic socialists, and that goes back to my time living in San Francisco when I did work with the city supervisor, Dean Preston, and also got to volunteer on the Bernie Sanders campaign. Since then, I've been working in Arizona as an assistant attorney general in the Child and Family Protective Division, where I represent the Departments of Child Safety and Economic Security's Adult Protective Services section in cases that involve the abuse, neglect, and exploitation of children and vulnerable adults. I'm really proud of that work, and it has solidified for me the importance of community programs and public policies that allow families to have the support that they need, whether that's financial support, emotional support, community support. We need to have structures and systems that work for working people, because everybody has somebody they know who struggles with mental health, somebody they know who struggles with addiction, and those people deserve to be treated humanely and given the opportunity to thrive, not just survive in our society. So here's what I'm excited to talk about this. I'm looking forward to being here. And I could go on and on and on, but I'll stop right there.
Well, so the election was yesterday.
It was.
Or last night, and so we don't have an outcome just yet.
No, we don't.
You could be going to a runoff.
That's right.
What does that actually mean?
So going to a runoff would mean something has happened in Tempe that does not usually happen in municipal elections. 3 incumbents were running for re-election, and I'd like to first just quickly shout out Arlene Chin for a very well-run campaign. Her campaign manager, Janet Hamlin, I don't know if you know Janet. Yeah. She is incredible, and also one of the hardest workers that I've ever gotten to meet in my entire life. So I'm not surprised at all that Arlene did so well. At this point, if the percentages hold, I will be in a runoff along with Burdetta Hodge, Jennifer Adams, and Brooke St. George, who also had a very incredible turnout last night. And I know that she was on this show at one point in the future.
Yes.
Normally, when incumbents run for re-election, they win about 80 to 90% of the time. And so the fact that we were able to push this into a runoff is absolutely incredible.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, when will the runoff take place?
The runoff itself would take place on May 19th. There will be a period of time where people can get registered to vote. So there'll be another registration period. If you're already registered to vote, you're good. Then there will be ballots coming out. You'll have the opportunity to send them back in. It's going to be an all-mail election again. May 19th.
All mail in?
Yeah, mail in.
Okay.
No, only men are.
And Gabby doesn't
Only
get
male.
because Gabby she lives in Awatuki. This is Awatuki, so
my dad's medical facility is in Awatuki, so I've been out here a lot as well.
Yeah. So, but I get to vote. So thank you for informing me. If it goes to a runoff, we'll see what happens today.
Yeah.
More numbers are drawn.
We'll find out.
Okay, so let's get started about why. I know you kind of talked about why you ran for, or did you? You gave us a background on you, but why did you run for Tempe? Why Tempe City Council?
Yeah, so I've grown up in Tempe. I moved here from Peoria, Illinois.
You were
in
7. I
2000.
read that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very young, 2001. We had suffered a death in the family. My sister, Kristen, had passed away at that time. And my mom wanted to be nearer to her sister. And her sister's husband worked at ASU, still works there as a geology professor. And we wanted to come out here and be nearer to family. My dad had just finished his residency at the University of Illinois. He got employed at Tempe St. Luke's, or with the hospital administration company that provided doctors to Tempe St. Luke's. And so we came out here just to become closer to family. And over time, I became more and more connected to the city of Tempe just because I lived here. I loved it here. And yeah, I wanted young families to have the same opportunity that my family had growing up. And it's become progressively more and more expensive, specifically to buy housing in Tempe.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure your viewers already probably know this, but even in just the last few years, the housing prices of purchasing in Tempe have absolutely spiked. The townhome that I live in now has gone up in price about $100,000 since it was purchased in 2022, which is truly shocking for a townhome. I'm a renter. I don't own this place, but I'm really glad to have my rent sort of like locked in for what it is.
But you represent a lot of people coming out of ASU.
Yeah.
ASU's right in Tempe.
Yes.
But the students can't really afford to live in Tempe, which is a problem.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting.
Good.
When I was a student at ASU, I rented a room in a house with a shared bathroom situation for about $500 a month. When I started this campaign, I went and looked at that same house, which is still renting out rooms, to see how much it would cost to live there now, and the price had more than doubled. So it was just unbelievable. And then I talked to some students. They're like, yeah, like $1,000 for a room, that's actually pretty good. You're not going to get much better than that, which was really depressing for me. And so if you look at the housing market, in order to buy a home in Tempe, you end up paying about $150,000 more than the average around the country. And that's just because our housing prices are so much higher than the rest of the nation.
So what would you do if you were elected to Tempe City Council? What would you do to change that?
There's a few immediate programs that I would want to start off. First of all, it's important to recognize that 60% of Tempe is renters, and renters need protections as well, both so that they can save money to eventually buy a home and because they just deserve to have protections and stability in their life. So on one hand, I would like to create more rental subsidy programs. I would like to put in place a rental stabilization board, which can help us stabilize rents on city-owned, financed, subsidied, or insured housing, even under state preemptions. And I would also like to expand the ability for developers to build affordable, low-cost housing, sub-market rate housing, whether it's condos or even single-family homes in places where we can increase the density for everyday people.
How do you think you would get that through? Because I know that this has been an issue in Tempe for such a long time, and that has, they wanted to push that through when they were trying to get the hockey stadium in, and that was a big fight between the hockey stadium and getting affordable housing. And it's been an issue in Tempe for a really long time. How do you think that you could make a difference in getting affordable housing in Tempe?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm taking a different approach to affordable housing, I think, by activating more public resources towards the development of public housing. I'd like to see the city get more directly involved in building affordable housing on public land, whether or not they are giving those pieces of land to developers to develop.
Which has been happening quite a lot, and we're developing, up in a lot of buildings, and they're taking over a lot of land to develop.
Well, yeah, because in Tempe, you have to build up.
Yeah.
You can't build out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's everything built around Tempe.
But they're building hotels, they're building corporate buildings, they're not building affordable housing. They're building, was that the senior living facility, stuff like that, as opposed to, which God knows how expensive those places are, as opposed to places that are affordable for people to live.
So there's two avenues to addressing this. On one hand, and this is something I have experience in from my time working with San Francisco City Supervisor Dean Preston, is using the city as a developer itself and using our own public land to develop housing, because we can just do whatever we want with that space. grace. We don't have to consider the profit motive quite so much as a private company that has shareholders. On the other
I
hand,
just wanted to snap my finger so bad when he said that. Sorry, go on.
in a good way, I hope. Yeah.
Like, we can do whatever we want.
We can. And then on the other hand, using density bonus programs and making it more and more attractive for developers to actually build housing in Tempe, as opposed to what is more profitable for them at this point.
Right.
It's about changing that math a little bit.
I see a lot of development in Tempe, but mainly commercial development. You know what I mean? Like, it's to your point, like restaurants or office buildings or whatever that are going up around the city of Tempe. But if you're elected as a Tempe City Council, like how, there's some big issues on the table that are impacting the residents of Tempe and even those that don't live in Tempe, like the whole arts area.
Yeah.
That whole dilemma about that, the park ordinance that came up.
Yeah.
I was actually at that meeting where it went to like, I didn't stay, but I saw the meeting where it went to like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
How would you get buy-in from your counterparts? Because those are the people that so far they say at least 2 of them you get on the board and 2 of them are reelected, and you have the rest of the city council. What would you do?
A big part of it is the relationship building side. So I have a good relationship with Dorian Garland, with Corey Woods, with Randy Keating. I even have had good conversations with Arlene Chin. I talked with her earlier this morning to congratulate her on her win. So much of what we can accomplish is what people perceive to be possible. And so that also benefits me to be an attorney. And I would be the only attorney on council who's actually written.
I was going to get to that.
Okay. We'll get into that more in a minute. But that has given me the experience to write laws, to litigate around laws, to assist with the development and advocacy for laws, especially in the housing sector. So I have a unique experience, which will allow me to develop some trust amongst the other council members and hopefully become something of the go-to expert when it comes to asking what can we do as a city instead of going to people who are always more concerned about where we might be crossing a line potentially.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about you when there was a panel discussion that I got to facilitate, and you were one of the panelists, is like you're very strong in your beliefs.
Yes.
Do you think that sometimes that might be even the way it's expressed? Do you think that might help or hinder you?
Yeah, I actually had a really good conversation with Councilmember Garland early on in this campaign, and she has good connections in South Tempe, especially, which is where the majority of votes come from, LD12. And I was told in no uncertain terms, like, people like your ideas, but you're a little too militant. So I've actually, believe it or not, tried to dial
I wasn't going with
No. And I think she meant that in the sense of like, you're not a deeply compromising person, and I won't deny that. Like, I believe that the things I'm pursuing are the right things to pursue, and I'm doing this because I think it's the right thing to do. We didn't get into this either, but one of the main motivating factors for me in launching this campaign when I did was that my youngest sister, Madison, had passed away in January of 2025. And that experience, she was 21 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. She had just graduated and just been accepted into graduate school. It solidified for me something that you don't like to think about. Most people don't like to think about, that none of us know how much time we have on this earth. None of us know how much time we have to do the things that we think are truly important. And I'm doing this work because I think it is truly important.
And you're like, time is of essence.
Time is of the essence, absolutely.
Well, I'm very sorry for you lost
Thank you.
two of your siblings. I know what that's like. My twin brother passed away when I was 18, so I could totally understand how you feel about that.
I appreciate that.
And that's good to know that people know what drives you.
Yeah.
But what I do know, or what I feel like I might know about you, because it's kind of limited, but I feel like you still will listen at least, right?
Yeah.
Like if somebody wants to come to you and talk to you about why they have a different point of view,
definitely,
you're still open to listening to that, right? It's not like you're like, nope,
No.
This is how I feel and time is of the essence. So
right. No, that's one of the other important factors of this campaign, and it comes from the work I did with the parks referendum. In July of 2025, the City Council passed a parks and special events ordinance that would have made it more difficult for public event organizers to put together mutual event organization efforts, to do birthday parties, even basketball games. Could have been really anything. And it was a broad stroke that would have had a lot of detrimental effects for the city of Tempe. And it was passed unanimously, as most of the things that go through this council are passed. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, reflects a pre-decision-making process that doesn't allow for community input. And I'm just not willing to engage with that sort of decision making. I think as representatives of the people, we need to ensure that the people's voices are being heard, which means that if something is on the agenda for public comment, we can't have our decisions made beforehand. And that was what I was told when I confronted a few council members about this. Like, you always seem to vote 7-0, 7-0, 7-0. And they'll say, well, we have differences of opinion. We just discuss them in advance and come to a position where we already know what we're going to do when it comes up. And that, to me, is very problematic, because it means you're not allowing the community to have their say in the only forum where they can genuinely have a say. Right. So it's very important to me to protect our public comment in Tempe. I know there are some cities around the valley that have started to reduce public comment accessibility for people. Mesa is a good example of this, where they don't allow for as much public comment as Tempe, and they can be a lot more selective about who gets that opportunity. It's also very important to me that our ballot initiative process, our referendum process, and even our candidate signature gathering process is made more reasonable. We have some of the highest requirements for getting on the ballot, whether you're a candidate or a ballot initiative or a referendum, of any city in Arizona. And there's really no reason for us to be so strict about these requirements. We can have...
How many signatures did you need?
I think it was, you needed like 954 signatures total, compared to Ana Hernandez, who ran in Phoenix City Council in 2024, who needed just about 300. It was a truly staggering difference. And, we ended up getting about 2,000 signatures because we really wanted to make sure that we couldn't be challenged at all.
There was a cushion there.
Exactly. And so I think that should not be quite so difficult, because it will incentivize, or it'll make it easier for people to get involved in public discourse.
Okay. Well, one thing I just learned is, don't judge a book by its cover, because you never know what's happening and what's motivating people. And I think it's important that you really brought to light some of the drivers of who you are and what you're doing. But I'm gonna let Gabby close us out for this session, and then we'll come back in the next to talk more.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us on the Around the Districts podcast. We're here with Bobby Nichols. We're going to come on another podcast and talk a little bit about his campaign and him as a person and what he plans to do for Tempe, the Tempe City. So thank you for joining us. Please share, and give us a comment. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll see you in the next episode.